Hello, I'm Phil Archer from GS1 Global Office with a video that I hope explains GS1 Digital Link one layer at a time. If you've heard me or anyone else talk about GS1 Digital Link, you will hear terms like URIs, link types, URLs, resolvers. Please, it's not about the technology. GS1 Digital Link is about traceability, it's about product recalls, it's about consumer information, and it's about back-of-store operations, and healthcare information, and online shopping, and search engine optimization, and consumer analytics. It's about warehouse operations, and the rail industry, and the technical industries, and general merchandise, even a bit of augmented reality. It's about apparel. It's about GS1. A lot of the information, a lot of the facts about GS1 Digital Link are so obvious. You know this already. And the reason you know it is because we're using existing technology that actually you use every day. There's nothing actually technically new about GS1 Digital Link at all. Because all we're doing, finally, is we're taking the barcode and we're sticking it on the web. That's it. That's almost all of what GS1 Digital Link is. But it means a lot. The advance that we're making is substantial and game-changing. It means that now that barcode still does what it's always done. It goes beep at the checkout, it goes beep as it goes onto a lorry or off a lorry, onto a railway wagon, whatever it may be. All that is still true. But now it does something else. It does lots of things. It links to information for consumers. It links to information for patients, as distinct from information for clinicians. It links to an EPCIS repository. It links to hazardous material handling information, recipe ideas, videos, promotions. All those things can all be accessed, or at least there's the potential for them to be accessed from that barcode. We've gone from a one-purpose knife to a Swiss Army knife of opportunities. Now, if we try and cover everything all in one go, we very quickly confuse anybody we're talking to. And I'm guilty of having to try and cover everything in one go. So now we split it up into little layers and try and cover each layer in turn. Let's start at the foundation, which is the GS1 Digital Link URI syntax. It's a long techie word for something that's actually pretty simple. If you're familiar with any of our 2D barcodes, if you're familiar with AIs and all that aspect of GS1, which is fundamental to what we do, you'll know about element syntax. You'll have seen things like this string here, where you've got a GTIN, you've got a batch number, a serial number, and an expiry date written in that particular syntax that means something within the GS1 system. And all we're doing in GS1 Digital Link is making that same information available as a URL. It's important that the information in that URL is identical in terms of the information it carries to the element syntax. And that is fundamental. It's the basis on which everything else comes. If we get that right, we can do a lot more. It means that a QR code like this that contains a GS1 Digital Link URL also has the information that you're familiar with. It's got the GTIN, it's got the batch number, the serial, the expiry date, as we just saw. All that information is there, and you can scan it with your phone without any specialist application. This isn't the time and place to go into detail on that. There's a whole presentation in the MO Zone called Dipping a Toe in GS1 Digital Link that talks about this. And there's a document that goes with it comparing a QR code with a GS1 Digital Link URL in it as opposed to any other URL. So have a look at that. Let's move on to the second layer, link types. This is actually quite easy to explain, and again, it's something that you'll be very familiar with from everyday life. I always explain it by looking at online newspapers. Here are two examples, one from the UK, one from Argentina. Have a look at the navigation for each of those two. Although one's in English and one's in Spanish, they're basically the same. There's a latest news page. There's an opinion section. There's a sports section, a culture section, a business section. Those are the kind of things that when you look at a newspaper online, you know what you're looking for and you can find that particular section with the particular information you want. And all we do is we take that idea and we apply it to the things that we worry about within GS1, a product, a shipment, whatever it may be. So now what link types do is provide you with a menu of options. I've got this thing, I want to know some information about the product. Or I've got this medicine, I want the information for patients. I've got this shipment, I want to know where it's come from, where it's got to go to. But how do you make that real? I mean, it's all well, that works as a theory, but how do you actually realize that as an actual thing that you can see a menu and click a link and follow and find those things? That requires the next layer up. And that's the job of the resolver. Now, it's worth remembering, a GS1 Digital Link URI does not have to point to a resolver. Again, look at the dipping a toe in GS1 Digital Link presentation. That explains all this stuff for you. It doesn't have to. You can just take that URI and use that as your starting point and then redirect from that to whatever you want. Most likely it's going to be a product information page. So you take that URI, maybe in a QR code or NFC tag, whatever it may be, and you go from that one URL to one destination. Now that redirect can be updated at any time. You can point it to a different thing altogether, but only one at a time. You can't do them both together. The resolver means that you can point from one URL to multiple destinations at the same time, and each of those destinations has a menu option. It has a typed link. This is the link you follow to product information. This is the link that you follow to a video about the product. Here's how you register it. That's what a resolver does. It means that you can point from one starting point to multiple destinations at the same time. And those destinations can be completely independent of each other. One of those boxes might be a solution provider, another one might be the manufacturer themselves. Doesn't matter. It's the web. It's a URL. You can just link stuff, right? Now, to make this happen, to make this easy for you to work with your members to realize this future, GS1 Global Office actually makes two resolvers available to you. One of them is for developers, and for experiments and trials. Test it. You can put any old link in there, hit it, try it, see what works, test out the system. It's there so that MOs, solution providers, manufacturers and developers can see and experiment without anything breaking or doing any harm. The other resolver is the resolver. It's the production grade resolver. Thanks to brilliant programming by Nick Lansley, it is fast, it's resilient, it's scalable, it's an absolute work of art. It's brilliant, and it's free. Your members can use that production resolver completely free. You, the MO, your members, they have to be the ones that provide those links, put them in the resolver, they're responsible, not you, not me, and they're available then online, unrestricted. Have a look at that. Again, there's more documentation about that in the MO zone for you to follow up on. The final layer, the top of the cake, is linked data. Now, we are getting a little bit more techy here, so we may leave some people behind at this point, but it is actually, it's kind of the point. It really is the point of the exercise. I mentioned earlier on that GS1 Digital Link is relevant particularly to online shopping. Now, that means you're using the web, right? You're doing online shopping, whether you're using an app or the browser, whatever it may be. You are shopping online, you are using computers. You personally have never, ever, ever connected to the internet. Your phone has, your computer has, but you haven't because you're not a computer. You can't. right? So you have to make this information you want available in a way that computers can understand, because that's what you're using. What GS1 Digital Link has the potential to do in the near future is that resolver that we're operating is a completely unrestricted public source of information based on GS1 globally unique identifiers that goes to brand authorized information with embedded data within it using the GS1 web vocabulary. That means that at web scale, GS1 identifiers are the starting point for detailed brand authorized information about products and shipments and places and assets and returnable assets and all the rest of it. Because it isn't just GTIM, we can use GLN and make the same argument about the places and the companies. Or we can use GIAI and talk about assets in a hospital or a school, whatever it may be. All those things become possible, and that is the linked data layer that sits at the top of the GS1 Digital Link layer cake. And each of those layers, as you go up, each of them adds more value. And the reason that the resolvers are free for everyone to use is because of that. It gives more value and more functionality to the core thing we do, which is those identifiers. Identifiers go from being a single-use thing to being a multi-use thing. They're more valuable, more functional, and therefore we can license more of them. There's a huge amount of information about this in the MO zone. A lot of it's new. Do take a look. There are videos, there are narrative PowerPoints, there are documents, how you use all this stuff. Do take a look. There's quite a lot there. If you have any questions, though, there's my email address. And thank you for looking at the GS1 Digital Link layer cake.